Good evening, good evening, good evening. Can you hear me, Anjali? Hey, 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 guys.
Hey, GM.
Hello.
GM, good evening and good day, guys. How are you?
Doing all right. I've got a bit of a sore throat today, but we're getting through it.
Nice, nice. Anjali, how are you?
I'm doing really well. I was panicking a little bit because my son just started school and he rides his bike. And if he's 5 minutes late, I'm calling him like, "Where are you? Are you coming home?" So he just called me back and he said, "Everything is fine." He's 14. So he's like, "Everything is fine. Why are you calling me?" But I feel better now.
Great, 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 great. So everything is fine. That's like
Yes.
typical mother. He's just a teen. Don't worry about it. You have to
That's right.
you have to relax. You know, it's like getting in Web3. Like you just have to relax,
Yeah.
and everything will
No,
be.
it's true. Yes, parenting my baby as a teenager, this is definitely something that is something I'm still processing for sure. Harder than Web3, if you can imagine.
Nice, nice, nice. Yeah, but I think that being part of like Web3 space is even more scary. And like there's so many things happening in Web3, but we're gonna talk about everything scary that's happening in Web3 space these days. So let me just see. I've just posted in our Discord. Let's see will people join in, and let's just share this one more time on our Twitter that we just started. Just a moment. So are you guys ready? Because I've got some serious questions for you guys.
Yeah, I'm ready for whatever you got. Throw some good stuff on my way. I will respond to the best of my ability.
Nice, nice, nice. So yeah, let's actually start slowly. So both of you are part of huge projects, part of huge companies, and you guys are building really, really, really hard. And first of all, I'd like to thank you guys that you actually found some time to join in these spaces. So we're going to talk about Web3 security, and today we have just Peachy from Ledger Support, and Anjali, which is co-founder of Collabland. And I'm actually going to ask you so many things because my background actually is from Web3 security. That's one of the first topics that actually interested me when I started exploring Web3, because I was, of course, victim of scams. So that was like super hard experience, super bad experience for me, but I've learned a lot. And the reason why we actually invited you today is that we try and open up a little bit eyes to our listeners, to our users, and to give them more insights on how do you guys actually work. But before we start, I gotta say one thing. None of this is financial advice, guys. Please take care of your assets. Always use hardware wallets, and always check is Collabland bot 6372. So without further ado, I'd like that you guys first of all introduce yourself. And I think that it's fair to say ladies first. So Anjali, can you please introduce yourself and how did actually your journey in Web3 started?
Yeah, thank you so much, Marina. I'm so happy to be here. I'm and happy to meet you, Just Peachy. And for everyone listening, thank you. So my name is Anjali Young, and I'm the co-founder and the chief community officer for Collabland. And our company is called Abridged, and we make the product Collabland. How did I get involved with Collabland? Well, this is my husband started Abridged in 2018, and he's a developer, and he started Abridged. And it wasn't until 2020 when he came up with the idea for a token gated verification for Discord, or actually started with Telegram, that he said, hey, this is finally an opportunity for you to maybe we can work together for the first time. And so he said, are you interested now? Because this project is turning from dev tooling, which is what the product originally was. It was dev tooling. That's what Abridged was. And Collabland was just a reference implementation of Abridged. It was something to show people, to say, look, this is something that you can build with our no-code tools. We really built Collabland just for ourselves, our own usage, because we had a DAO called the Collab 19 DAO. And we thought, how do we get everybody that's in the DAO, that has shares in the DAO, how do we get them to start talking to each other? And then how do we know that it's really them in a chat platform? And so that problem, that bridge going from what somebody's online wallet address was, like 0x199, to knowing that if they said their name was Marina in the Discord or in the Telegram chat, how would I know that that's who that person is? And why would that be important? And so it became important for the DAO because it was a grant giving DAO that was giving money to COVID-19 victims. And so it was a more personal type of relationships that we were building with people, asking them who they wanted to give the money to, or some people were collecting donations from people they knew. So it was a more intimate relationship. And we thought, oh, let's build this thing, Collabland, to show everybody that they can use our no-code tooling for so many different things that they can build. And then from there, everybody said, forget about the no-code tooling. I'm interested in Collabland. And so that's how Collabland came to be. And once the community started using it, DAOs started using it, that was it. Really, it was a DAO tool at first. The understanding would be that it would only be interesting to people in DAOs. And so when DAOs started using it, I still wasn't involved. But as soon as social tokens people with social tokens started using Collabland, then he's like, you're a community person, come in and do community at Collabland. So that's how I started.
Nice. Interesting story. So it's a family business now, right?
It really is a family business now. So it wasn't until the summer of 2021 that he made me co-founder. And then we have a third co-founder who's Raymond Fang, who is our CTO, who all of Collabland is built on his open source project, Loopback. So now it's the three of us as co-founders, and it's really delightful, I will say. And especially because of, I've been really lucky that when I first started, I was able to make like a pretty big impact. Like Raymond and James both wanted to keep building up the DAO stack, like Collabland being a DAO tool, and then let's build other DAO tools. And that should be the company, DAO Tooling. And I was like, wait a second, what about NFTs? Like I'm DMing everybody on Twitter, begging them to try Collabland. And I was telling James and Raymond on one side, like, hey, forget about DAO tooling. Like that'll always be there. Why don't we grow to try to expand and support these NFT communities? And so I got lucky because of my position, obviously being his wife, like he listened to me, and I was able to convince them that this was the right move for us rather than continuing to build up the DAO stack. So because I had that credibility early on, it's just been really wonderful. I have the confidence to be able to like feel some real impact in this space. So yeah, it's been really great. But yes, absolutely a family business.
Nice. That's really nice story to hear. Peachy, let's hear, how did you find yourself in this space, and how did you end up working as a ledger support?
Yeah, I mean, I have to say, like, to start off, I feel like I don't know how to follow Anjali there. I mean, like, I'm a huge fan of Collabland, a huge fan of her and everything that they were doing over there. I feel like I would almost rather sit in the audience and just listen to her speak during this AMA. But it's an honor to be here with with her and with Collabland and with everyone here. It's great to be able to talk to you guys. My 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 story, I guess, is a little bit different. I really started in this space about a year ago. About mid-August last year was really when I got into crypto and NFTs in general. I was working for a different company at the time, and it was a space that they were getting into, and I wanted to learn more about it, obviously, and be more involved. And as I began to get more involved and start minting projects and trying different things, I started falling in love with the space and the people that were in it, which then resulted in me getting actually extremely lucky in finding that Ledger was starting their first U.S.-based office here in Portland, which is where I'm based now. And I said I wasn't going to let the opportunity pass me up. And so that's how I found myself on the support team. Now, we're a team of 15 here, mainly doing support. A lot of us have been given the opportunity to expand and explore new avenues. We all, if any of you have gone to any IRL events, it's actually how I got in contact with you guys in the first place with at NFT New York. Some of us are going to IRL events and talking to customers and to people, and I'm also now focusing and working on community education and community outreach. Really trying to spend as much time as I possibly can talking to new communities and projects. Talking about Web3 security, talking about transactions, talking about signatures, talking about hardware security, anything that people want to know about, because it's so important to talk about in the space right now. And I think that it's a growing conversation that's extremely important, and I'm glad that people are beginning to recognize the importance of it. I think one of the really cool things being here with Collabland is like to be able to, one of the things that I've been preaching personally is, and something that I'm really focusing at Ledger on trying to change the narrative of, is feeling comfortable to use your ledger and feeling confident that you can navigate Web3 and not be worried signing things like Collabland. We have a lot of people that talk about like, oh, can't sign signatures from Collabland, can't use my ledger with Collabland, and that's just not the case. That's not the reality, and you should feel confident using your ledger and understanding what can hurt you and what can't hurt you. So I think it's a big part of why we're doing more of these and trying to expand our reach to be able to, in the education space, to grow the knowledge and hopefully bring people's perception around what is scary and what isn't scary, and ideally at the end of the day be able to alter the conversation to have people feel more comfortable in the space. And that's what I'm excited about, and that's what I'm here for.
Thank you, Peachy, for this great introduction on what do you actually do in Ledger. So when we're talking about problems in Web3 security, you just mentioned like that a lot of people are coming to you and asking actually questions that are not correct and that are not true. Like, what would you say that there are like biggest problems security wise in Web3 space? And this question actually goes for both of you. Like, what do you see as a general problem in security? What are the common questions? Let's put it like that.
Yeah, I mean, I can tell you right there, a question like that is really the root of what the biggest security risks are in crypto, which are impersonation. That's the number one reason that Just Peachy is even getting a question like that, is because the person may have interacted with the impersonation of Collabland, an imposter. And so then the question is, what do we do about this big problem? Like when we talk about people are impersonated all the time, like when Twitter accounts are hacked even, right? And so, or you have mint sites that are fake mint sites. And so then you have a impersonator there, or you have Discord servers that are completely fake and filled with member bots that are, so it looks like it's a real Discord server, but it's not a real Discord server. But you think, oh, it has 60,000 people in it, it must be real. And so that imposters is really the number one problem in crypto right now. So what I tell people is that what you need to do is be able to identify what the real product is. And so that's our biggest burden when it comes to Collabland is once you're using Collabland, we got you. We got your back. We're always finding different ways to educate our members. Now we have like a readable signed message. So it's like, you see what you're going to be signing, and then you can match it to what you get in your wallet when you're signing there. And so it's like, we're trying to make it as readable as possible, but that's for them, not for us. We're always constantly fortifying our system. And so we've been grown this far to 6 million wallets connected in over 41,000 communities using us in keeping that part safe. But I cannot keep the people safe who are interacting with an imposter bot. And so all I can do is educate, tell people how to identify the real Collabland bot. Whenever anyone posts on Twitter that they found an imposter bot, I retweet it or I will like it and I will comment on there and encourage people to keep sharing their stories, because that's the biggest security problem, not from inside of Collabland, but how do I help you if you're outside of Collabland and somebody is using a trusted name, using our trusted name to scam people. So that's from our perspective, what is the biggest issue?
Yeah, I think I can touch on with that as well. As the security issue is very common between the two, between Ledger and Collabland, in the sense that in this space there's really two major ways that you can get wrecked. Number one being losing your recovery phrase, and number two being signing a transaction that harms you. With a Ledger device, you're obviously protected against that first one. As long as you're not personally giving your phrase out to anyone, the Ledger device is going to protect you from scam sites, hackers, anything you can think of. The device is going to protect you against. But what the Ledger cannot protect you against are your own decisions, and that's why AMAs and talks like this are so important, is because ultimately the best way to protect yourself against hackers and people phishing is the knowledge and the understanding of what transactions do, so that way you are able to prevent yourself from signing things that do harm you. I think that's one of the things that is really hurting the space right now, is a lot of people are confused and ultimately are just kind of scared of everything, which I don't necessarily think is it comes from a good place. People saying things like, oh, don't connect your ledger to whatever, don't ever use Collabland with your ledgers, or don't connect to OpenSea or MetaMask with your ledgers. And while it comes from a good place, it ultimately it incites bad practices, like transferring your NFTs to hot wallets to connect to pre-mint. Is not necessarily a good practice. It puts you more at risk than just by using your ledger itself. And I think being able to, the super important thing is being able to read your messages and understand them. With Collabland, you're seeing a readable message, and you're understanding exactly what it's doing. And as long as you can read the message that Collabland is giving you, then you should feel no concern about signing it. And that's one of the things that we could sit here and preach all the time. It's like, read your messages, understand what they're doing, know what's happening. Because if you understand what's happening before you press sign, then you can avoid essentially every single scam that comes your way if you ever find yourself in one of those situations. And it's something that's growing, and that I think it's, as like I said before, as these conversations continue on, it's a lot easier to talk about these things and to bring a lot of this confusion to light and be able to explain it, thoughtfully, and hopefully people get a good grasp and understand of it. And as we continue on and grow, these things are going to happen a lot less frequently.
But when you mentioned that we have to understand, like, what are we signing? Like, from time to time, we get these crazy messages, like, with numbers and letters, and then you get, like, completely confused. And that was, like, one of the questions that people were asking me while I was doing this Discord AMAs about security. Like, what should we do in that case? And what I would like to highlight in this part is that it's really important to read, because most of the users are actually using MetaMask. So when you're signing, you should actually check the first note. Like, are you setting approval for all? Are you minting? What are you actually doing? So even if you guys get confused with all these numbers and letters, just read the first note on top of your MetaMask. Like, what am I actually approving and what am I actually giving away? And even if numbers and letters are there, you will always have this clear note of what are you actually signing. So never FOMO in. That's like one of things that I like to highlight. Never FOMO in, and use your eyes. Use your eyes and read the messages, because I think what Web3 is actually bringing to us is maybe people are reading more about terms and conditions, and maybe actually, reading what they're signing, because we are now witnessing that people are actually signing, different contracts in real world. I'm not talking now about Web3. Like, people are just like blindly signing whatever someone gives them. So I think that Web3 will definitely bring us this feeling of being more cautious and being more prepared for what we're giving our money for. That's at least like how I see it at this point.
Marina, I love that. I love that, because you're totally right. Like, we come from this world where we're just signing the terms of service without ever looking, the privacy policy without ever looking. And I didn't know if there was a way to change that behavior. But what you're describing is, in Web3, the stakes are so high that we have to get back to reading. And that might change maybe this next generation of internet users, the rest of us.
Yeah, I thought honestly that the episode of South Park was going to change that about reading. I don't know, have you guys seen that episode with the human centipede, when they're just like blindly signing that they will be all connected in one huge human centipede? So I thought that South Park is going to help us, but obviously it haven't. We needed to like wait for Web3 for change like that. So I think it's really important that we actually start reading, and that's one of the things that I'm actually hoping for. So now that we basically identified like the biggest problems that are also like social engineering, and like in general, people will try to scam you wherever they can and however they can. So I have one question for you, Peachy, and this is I think really maybe it's a harder question for you, but why do we use blind signing in Ledger? Like, can you please give us more insights on what is this function and what it actually represents, and are we safe when we're doing the blind signing? How does that work?
Yeah, so blind signing is more of the important thing behind the term blind signing, and alongside of that clear signing as well, is when you're interacting with things such as contracts and stuff, one of the important security pieces with the Ledger device is being able to clearly and understandably read the transactions and know what's happening step by step on the Ledger device on the screen. That's the big important verify piece with the Ledger device. With a lot of unverified contracts, and just a lot of just different Web3, or Web3, but more of just like DeFi contracts or any kind of stuff out there, the Ledger device can't always be able to identify those things and understand exactly what smart contracts are doing to be able to clearly give you an answer. So what enabling blind signing does is it allows you to interact with these contracts and different applications without having to worry about, or with just being able to do it. Blind signing is innately more dangerous because you're not able to verify what's happening on the device. So, for example, if I'm sending an NFT when I'm blind signing, it's not going to tell me all the information that it normally would with clear signing on what's actually happening. And that's why with Ledger Live and Ledger Live verified services, and partners, you're able to use clear signing, and clear signing is the much safer way. It gives you, you're getting clear instructions and a clear idea of what's happening with your transactions. But ultimately, with blind signing, while you are innately at more risk because you're not able to verify what you're doing on your device, if you're interacting and feel comfortable interacting with trusted sites such as OpenSea and MetaMask and Uniswap and other services such as that, then you shouldn't feel nervous using blind signing. Obviously, you're not going to be able to get as much information as you would be when you're clear signing, but really what it comes down to is if you are using your ledger device in following safe practices and using trusted services and sites and using official links, then blind signing really doesn't bring any extra harm to you, because you're not going to find yourself in situations where having that extra information would prevent you from getting scammed, because you're not going to get scammed on the OpenSea's official site, or you're not going to get scammed on Uniswap or things like that. Ultimately, it's more of just a if you can use clear signing, use it. If you can use clear services that have the clear signing functionality, go for it, because it's going to give you more clear information. But as more as we roll out more things like Ledger Connect, and as clear signing becomes more widely available to services, the issue of blind signing is going to slowly disappear, and eventually it's not going to have to be something that you have to worry about.
Just Peachy, how do you get involved with the ClearSign program? With Collabland, we use MetaMask Ledger and Phantom Ledger, and our members have to use blind signing. So I would love to be able to offer clear signing to them if you can direct me.
Yeah, I think ultimately that comes from MetaMask and Phantom integration. I don't know exactly, but a big problem with clear signing comes from MetaMask side and Phantom side. I actually think recently, I can't remember. I know I ran into a situation recently where I was able to use clear signing with I think Phantom, but a lot of that comes from the just the devs on our side having to work with other applications and being able to integrate that kind of clear signing services or clear signing stuff inside of the device. That's not really something that I have a ton of knowledge behind. Maybe after we can talk about that more and figure out if that's a process that can be like determined.
Yeah.
But ultimately, I think
definitely.
it comes from the MetaMask side. Yeah.
Okay. Well, if there's a way, I'm interested in pursuing that. If there's a way, if you can, contact me with somebody, I'd love that. Thanks.
Yeah, absolutely.
NFT Go, connecting people again. Yeah, really, really. I'm really glad that they actually mentioned this one of the features, and I'm interested in how do you enjoy work in Collabland, and how does development actually happens, and how do you prioritize stuff being added to Collabland? How does that work?
Well, part of my job as chief community officer and running the Twitter and running the socials and being here with you is I also am head of the support team. And so I meet with my support team every morning. We're a team of 4, and we kind of triage amongst each other over who answers what questions and what gets done. Just answering support tickets, because we service people that are brand new to crypto, where we're actually answering questions like, what is a MetaMask, all the way through to crypto natives. And so we have a whole slew of different types of questions that come to us. Also, the complicated questions that come around token gating and how do I do this? And this is my collection, and I want to make this and this and this happen. So we do that, but mainly it's the close relationships that we have with like our admins and our community of communities, through having a closer relationship with the support staff and community having a seat at the table. I'm the main person who interacts on Twitter. I'm the person that takes in all the intake via email, and I also run the support team. So we get a firsthand knowledge helpers from all our admins in all our communities. I mean, our product is really guided by community input. And so we can't really take much credit to any of this. We're just keenly listening to what our communities need and want and where their challenges are. And so we grow and mold our project to them. And when somebody asks for a new feature, we keep track of it. And if it comes up a couple of times, and we do some investigation on if we can fit it into this 2-week sprint, or is it going to be next 2 week, then we do it. And so we're very much a community-led development group.
Wow, that's really nice to hear. And how many blockchains are you covering now, actually? And are there like more DeFi projects or NFT? How did that part develop?
Yeah, I mean, when NFTs started, popping up, and I was like pursuing them hard, that's where our growth came. Like, we're lucky in that we created this industry, created this tool, created this product, and even this concept of token gating. And so we didn't really have much to deal with other than just growing with the community in real time. So we started with DAOs, and then we moved to investment communities, social tokens, and then NFTs. We definitely have the overwhelmingly, it is NFT communities who we serve. And they are also the loudest and the most bold and most assertive about what their needs are. And so they do get serviced the most. And the good part about NFT communities really taking the lead here is that the DeFi communities and the DAOs all get to benefit from this leadership that NFT communities take. And so they're all using all the same advancements and enhancements that we've made at Collabland, but it's really the NFT communities that are leading the way here.
And how many blockchains are you covering at this moment?
Oh, I'm sorry, I missed that question.
No problem.
Oh boy, I think right now we're at 17, and that includes EVM, non-EVM, like Flow, Solana, Tezos. I mean, Avalanche, like pretty much probably all the ones that you can think of. There's always new blockchains that are coming in and requesting integration as well. So there's about 2 that are coming up, and I'll announce those when they come up. But the last ones have been like not blockchains at all, but layer 2s, like Loopring just came on. Ripple's coming on pretty quickly. So we have like layer 2 solutions, we have layer 1, and then lots of different types of blockchains and platforms.
Wow, that's really, really impressive portfolio that you have there. So can you share some numbers, maybe related to Collabland, and how many active users you have today? How many projects do you know the numbers?
Yeah. I mean, I checked in July, so I'll tell you that. When we looked in July, we were at over 6 million wallets connected. I think I mentioned that at the top of the talk. We are at 41,000 active communities, and we have over 3 million like unique identifiers. So unique Discord ID and unique Telegram ID. I mean, it's possible that one person could have more than one Discord name or have more than one Telegram name, but it's at 3 million distinct identifiers between the 2 platforms.
Wow, that's a lot. Peachy, same question more or less goes to you as well. Like, do you maybe know some numbers related to Ledger? And what I'm interested most is Premint had this like really interesting integration with you guys, and they actually serve their users ledgers. Are there many projects that are getting involved like Premint and actually wanna give away ledgers as a security asset, as a utility?
Yeah, we've, at least for the number side, a great number I love reaching out to is that we just recently sold our 5 millionth unit, which is awesome and super cool. And it's we've seen a huge increase in purchases and just more people getting involved with hardware security in these last few months, which is fantastic. With Premint specifically and the custom ledgers and custom ledgers along those lines, we recently with like Atom Bomb and Warp Sound, custom ledgers is something that is definitely a market that like I'm personally like super excited about, and one that I'm hopeful that we can continue to grow, and because I think it's such a cool way to get communities involved with security at the same time of giving projects the ability to provide their holders and their community an awesome sort of reward for being a part of it. It also does a great job of showcasing, really just uniqueness in this space. Obviously, like you're going to have a majority of, the Warp Sound community being the only holders of the like Warp Sound ledgers. Same with like the Atom Bomb squad ones as well. I definitely expect that we will see a lot more ledgers and custom ledgers being a part of these sort of partnerships as we continue to grow. Like I said, it's one of the things that I'm pushing for, and I hope that we get to do more of. I think it's an awesome sort of thing. It's a super cool being able to see all the different kinds. I'm a huge fan of collecting as many of the custom ledgers as I can, which puts a dent in my wallet, but that's okay. They're awesome to have, and I think it's something that we'll definitely see more of. I think the Premint one was awesome, and I'm excited that we get to kind of showcase that and start doing more things along those lines in the future.
Wow, those are also impressive numbers. But when you mentioned the number of 5 million, I just like to mention this health routine that every user in Web3 should have, especially NFT traders. So what I'm usually recommending is to have at least 2 cold wallets. Why? Why 2? Because one of those you will connect to trusted websites such as OpenSea, as you mentioned, Uniswap, or whatever trusted website you're using for trading. And the second one you will be using to store the stuff that you never want to sell. So you will never connect this wallet to any websites, and it will actually be a vault for you. So that's one of the healthy routines that I'm always recommending to people when talking about security. Do you maybe have some extra tips about this?
Yeah. So I think having 2 ledgers is definitely like really good practice. Having your assets on one ledger, and then we're having like your really cold storage assets on one ledger, and on the other having either NFTs that you're listing or you're actively trading on. That being said, one of the things that you can also do without having to buy a second ledger is just creating a second ETH account on Ledger Live, and then transferring the NFTs that you don't want interacting on anything with to that account. Which obviously, what this isn't going to protect you from is in the event that you lose your recovery phrase or someone steals it, then those assets are at risk. But in terms of interacting with websites and minting sites and MetaMask and OpenSea and other things that people might be afraid of, if I'm interacting with a scam site and it's trying to access whatever, when it's accessing the address that I currently have connected to it, if I have NFTs or ETH or assets and other ETH accounts that are associated with my recovery phrase, those aren't affected in any way, because it's the only account that's interacting with a site that might be malicious is the one that I'm currently connected with. So that's something to keep in mind as well, is if you're someone that's using one ledger, what can be a great way to help increase your security is creating 1 or 2 more ETH accounts to be able to disperse your assets out, because it allows you to have an address that you're using for connecting to free mints or connecting to things that you might be a little nervous with connecting to. And in the event that it is a scam, it's not going to be able to access any of your other assets. It's only going to be able to access with whatever address you're connecting with. And I think that's a great way to increase your security. And it takes just a couple extra minutes, and something that allows you to really bolster what you already have going for you. Other than that, I mean, it really at the end of the day, keeping that phrase safe is like by far the most important thing that you can do in this space. That's why it's so important to have a ledger device or hardware and cold storage in general, because the recovery phrase that's generated on the ledger device is going to stay secure on the device. It's generated offline, meaning it's never been on the internet in any kind of way, and cannot be compromised. As long as you keep in mind that the only time that you are ever going to use that recovery phrase is to put it into another ledger device, then losing that phrase is never something that you're ever going to have to worry about, and takes out a huge weight off your shoulders of being scammed in the space and worried about losing certain things and interacting with stuff or downloading, whatever. It's extremely helpful, and it's the peace of mind aspect of it is something that's really invaluable, especially in Web3 and crypto, where it feels like for some, anything around the corner can hurt you.
But let's talk about private keys and secret phrase in this case. So we know that private key controls one wallet and secret phrase controls all wallets. So like when you make multiple wallets in MetaMask or Rainbow or Ledger, you're generating them all from like the same secret phrase. So what would you say that can be? How can that be prevented in case that I get that I lose my private key or something like that, and somebody wants to like get stuff from my ledger? Are they going to be able to do it without my confirmation on the device, or how would that process work?
So The Ledger device does not allow you to get your private keys. You can't actually pull your private keys from the device or Ledger Live, so you won't have to necessarily worry about that. The only way that someone is going to be able to transfer assets out of your ledger without your approval is either by, number one, having your recovery phrase or your secret phrase, your 24 words, um, whether that's them, finding it on your computer, whether that's them, you're giving it to them over a DM, whatever million ways you can give your recovery phrase out. Once they have it, then they're able to, just very easily restore using that phrase can, restore your accounts in MetaMask or in a different ledger and transfer those assets out. Otherwise, the only way that assets can be transferred out without your approval really comes from the set approval for all function. That's the big one. Obviously, with set approval for all, you are approving an address to be a spender on all of the NFTs of a certain collection in that address. So that address is the only one that ends up getting compromised. And there are a few other ways in terms of like things that you can sign that give really just any kind of approval signatures, giving spenders or other addresses the ability to do things on your behalf, can also result in you losing those things, but only the things that you've approved, right? So if I have 100 Bored Apes in my ledger and I have one Doodles, and I sign a set approval for all on my Doodles, then the scammer is only able to interact with the Doodles, and it can't touch my Bored Apes at all. So that's one of the important things to watch out for, and one of the things to keep an eye on and avoid are those kind of situations. But ultimately, in terms of your recovery phrase and your private keys, as long as you aren't giving your recovery phrase out in any way, shape, or form, you are protected against those things, and you're not going to have to worry about them.
Hello?
I don't know if I need to keep
Hey,
going.
can you hear me, guys?
Yep.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Something was wrong with my connection. So hypothetical scenario goes like this. I have a spyware on my PC. And this is actually what happens to me the first time and how I get hacked for the first time. So I have a spyware on my PC, and I've entered my password for my MetaMask, and they were able to like control my PC, right, from where I'm from. And they could also have my secret phrase if I were, let's say, hypothetically just making a new wallet now on this new computer or whatever, and I'm adding up my words, my 24 seed phrase. What happens in that case? Are they going to be able to send the NFTs even if they don't have the device?
Could you clarify again? So this was in your MetaMask, right?
Yeah. So the situation goes like this. I'm opening a new MetaMask on my PC, and I have a spyware, and I'm just entering my seed phrase. So I'm going to enter all 24 words, right? And someone is going to grab my seed phrase, and they're going to have it, and they're going to put it in their PC, and they do not have the device. Are they going to be able to steal my stuff?
Yes, they would be able to steal your items without your device. It's there's actually like an interesting way to think about this is one of the things that you can do with the device is when you first set it up, you can choose to restore using a recovery phrase instead of generating a new recovery phrase. And with restoring with a new recovery phrase, typically this is only for when you are, moving your assets to a new ledger using that 24 words. But the device also has the functionality to allow for using a 12, 18, or 24 word recovery phrase. MetaMask obviously generates a 12-word recovery phrase. So something that we see happen fairly often is people who will have all their assets in MetaMask and then decide, I want to move my assets to my ledger, but I don't want to transfer those assets because I don't want to spend the gas. So they'll take the 12-word recovery phrase and put it into the ledger, right? And this does not protect you in any way. It does not increase your security in any way. Because it might look, because you obviously be able to see your assets in your ledger, and when you're using your ledger, you'll be able to, sign transactions with the device, but you can still use, you can still manage those accounts from MetaMask without the ledger at all, because the phrase is ultimately the only thing that you need to manage the accounts. The device is just a vessel to protect the phrase. It's not actually like a necessary piece to managing your assets. So that's why protecting the phrase is so important, because if anyone gets access to it, it doesn't matter if they don't have your ledger. They'll be able to, use the recovery phrase on MetaMask or on their own ledger device or on some other wallet, whatever random wallet they want to use, because that phrase is going to essentially, it's going to bring up the accounts and give them the same access to your assets as if they were on your ledger.
Okay, this just became scarier than I was expecting it, because I was thinking that you would actually need a device, to control your assets. That was at least how I perceived everything so far when using Ledger.
Yeah, no, it's if someone has your recovery phrase, then they effectively have access to all of your assets, and it's something that we see happen a lot. There's a lot of different ways people fall for scams or phishing attempts on with giving out their recovery phrase, and losing that recovery phrase is so detrimental to the entire to your entire process. And so definitely do not under any circumstances input your recovery phrase anywhere. Don't give it out anywhere. There's no reason to ever put that phrase into anything other than the ledger device itself. As long as you're doing that, you are not going to have to worry about the threat of losing that phrase, and you'll be safe from at least that part of getting wrecked.
Okay, thanks for sharing this. I'm now under stress a little bit. I just found like Trojan today in my computer that I use only for crypto and only for work, and I was like, okay, now I need to like delete the Brave, delete the MetaMask, because I added, of course, my ledger to MetaMask, etc., etc. So it was a stressful day. Yeah.
What I can tell you is if all you've done is connect your device to your MetaMask, then you're not in any harm's way. Connecting, going through the connect hardware device functionality on MetaMask, it does not reveal any private key, doesn't reveal your recovery phrase to MetaMask. MetaMask has no access to that. So as long as you have never put your recovery phrase into your computer, the malware is going to have no way of accessing your assets. It's no way going to be able to access your ledger and steal your recovery phrase from the device. Device is designed to prevent that from happening, and will shut down if it ever feels like it's being attacked. So you can at least feel assured that the assets on your ledger are secure as long as the phrase has never been input on your computer.
Okay, yeah, I only use like connect the hardware device, so then I'm safe. Okay. This day just got better. Thank you. So when we're talking about, you just mentioned that the device will stop and when it feels like it threatened. So is Ledger actually working on automatical rejection of malicious messages from contracts? Because I had a really interesting experience. There was this social engineering hack on one of our actually NFT Go's competitor. And I just woke up. I FOMO'd in. I don't know why. It was promising, exciting day, and that's something that I like to highlight now. Never like FOMO in. Never do something when you just woke up. Take your time. Greet the day slowly. Enter the day slowly. Don't rush into doing anything. So I like literally FOMO'd in like a small little ape. I am, and actually transaction was rejected from Ledger and from my Trezor, and I was at this moment, I was still not, understanding that it was a hack, and I was kind of angry. Like, why I cannot approve these connections now? Like, what's going on? So that's why I'm curious. Are there any patterns that can get recognized by the ledger system, and it will automatically prevent us from signing the message, like it happened to me?
No. The ledger device doesn't actually have that functionality to be able to automatically prevent or block malicious transactions. I
just had luck. Definitely, I had luck. Yeah.
Yeah. There's certain things, like if you have Ledger Live open when you're trying to use MetaMask, it can actually like mess up the transaction and not allow the device to connect properly. But to answer that question, ultimately, I think the answer is going to be no, mainly because a lot of the functions that exist out there that do scam you aren't designed maliciously. Things like set approval for all is used in a way that you're able to list your items on OpenSea and allow them to be sold without your approval. So it's, and obviously like safe transfer from is a widely used function over being able to transfer assets from place to place. And so same with like send ETH. Send ETH, obviously you're using that all the time when you're transferring ETH between wallets or people. So if the device in like Ledger Live or Ledger Connect had the functionality of rejecting, at all set approval for alls, for example, then you wouldn't be able to list your items on OpenSea, which ultimately I think would harm your your experience with the device and your Web3 experience rather than help you. And I think that's why this like AMAs such as this and the education inside of what we're trying to do is so important, because ultimately what we're trying to do is like educate and teach users on when should you be seeing these functions, and when should you not be seeing these functions. Because when I should not be seeing a set approval for all function during a mint, then when you do see it, you're not going to fall for it. And I think that's the approach that Ledger is focusing on and trying to take, is how can we teach and educate users to help them prevent themselves from falling into scams and phishing attempts, rather than let's just block everything that they can interact with that could scam them.
Yeah, at the end of the day, it's important also to say that all the scams are on us. It's a human factor, and we are unfortunately responsible for everything that we're clicking on and accepting. So this is also something that you guys should pay attention to, as we said on the beginning of our conversation. But let's go back to Anjali now, and I'm interested in like, what are actual and the biggest challenges you guys are facing on a daily level as a company whose job is to make sure all connections are safe? How does that work in Collabland?
And that piggybacks with what you just said, which is like, it's a human problem, but really this is a brand new industry. We're traversing very rocky waters right now. The systems are not all set in place to make this a squeaky clean, safe place for all the masses to join right now. To find out what's real and what's not real, how do you even do that? I mean, it's so difficult. Somebody that's just coming into the space is going to have a hard time seeing what's real. Like, for one thing, Collabland on Twitter is not verified, right? And so you're like, wait, why isn't it verified? If this was a real product, it'd be verified. But that isn't sufficient to determine whether or not something is real or fake. The last few months, we saw verified Twitter accounts get hacked, and with mint sites and fake mints and everything with that. So it's like, even something like that, where you think you could use that as a way to know who's who, you can't. And so along the same lines is the main issue is impersonation. For Collabland, that's really what it is. When we have people trying to be us, pretend to be us, whether it be websites, whether it be on Discord, whether it be on Twitter, like whoever. Though that's kind of the main issue. And it's really a big issue for any project that gets any kind of notability or gets to a certain level of popularity. That's when you have the most amount of imposters. And so I wouldn't say it's a daily struggle. I mean, it happens daily in that we find scam sites, but we work with services. We have 2 people full time that do safety and security for Collabland. And then we also work with different services to scan the web and to pull websites down. But as far as like security concern, that's it. That's a security concern of like trying to keep people from falling into the praying hands of scammers who are using the Collabland name because it is trusted. So I'd say that's the biggest issue.
So you guys in Collabland had a lot of changes in 2022. You changed a lot of stuff. So can we just like do a small recap? What have you changed and what are you working on now?
Oh, yeah, sure. So the things that we've changed, and like I said earlier, what we're working on now, that's a whole other question. But let me start with what's changed so far. And like I said, we have our ear to the ground when it comes to our support channels and our communities and what our members are dealing at, what struggles that they're having, and how their needs change. So the first thing we switched, which was actually the end of last year, December of last year, we switched from a DM flow to a no DM flow. And that was specifically because scammers were beginning to use our DM flow, which up to that point, nobody had ever had a scam in that situation. And then all of a sudden you get one support ticket where somebody is like, oh, I got scammed by a fake Collabland using DM. And then the next week it's 500. And so you're like, holy moly, like the way when you get to a certain level of popularity, like where people start trying to impose, pretend to be you and how they're trying to take advantage, like that came hard and fast. And so we immediately moved to the no DM flow where we have a button and you get a custom link and it's a relationship between you and Collabland and nobody even sees that relationship is happening. That was the first thing. And then we moved into, gosh, we did so many things, and I'm trying to remember the highlights. We moved to wallet delegation. Initially, people didn't like the idea that Collabland had their wallet address and that they could look at it whenever they wanted. And so even though we needed that for a background check, that was feedback we got from our community, which is we feel safer if we have to sign a message every time. So every time you would want to get a new role, every time you would go into a new community, you had to reattach your wallet. And that was because at that time, the scammers were not in that space. And so people were more comfortable with that. However, over the course of this year, message signing became something that people became more and more nervous about. And so we said, okay, let's move to wallet delegation. And so now whenever you join any Collabland community, you go to a page that has your connected wallets already, and you can just click it and say, Collabland, I want you to read this wallet. And if you know about Collabland, and I'll share really briefly, we're a read-only application. When you sign a message, all you're saying is Marina owns this wallet. And we can now look at that wallet on the public blockchain to see what assets are associated with it. We don't have access to anything inside of your wallet. It's really, when I say connected, you're sharing your public wallet address with Collabland. So then we moved into wallet delegation. So now anytime you join any community, you don't have to sign a message. You really only have to sign a message the very first time you add your wallet. So those were some changes that came, like I said, from just seeing what was going on with the communities and what their needs were. Another one, like I mentioned earlier, is that the message that you sign is actually in that private Discord conversation with you. So when Marina hits let's go, then you get and you start that wallet connection, you see the exact message that you're going to sign. And then when you go to your wallet and sign it, you can recognize it and compare it with each other. So that custom message, being able to have human readable message that you can compare, that's also a new feature that we started. Yeah, I think those are most of them. And also we give now like the name of the server that you're in, your server icon. So when you click on the wallet connection page, you can actually see that wallet connection page is created by Collabland specifically for you. So that was another one. So yeah, I think those were probably it. And then we brought out the command center. I mean, that's a whole other issue, but that was an initiative of its own, where now admins can go to a web portal and have so much flexibility about how they create their roles. We've had metadata gating since the end of last year, but now being able to see it in the command center, where you can now use staking contracts, and we're constantly updating what the admin experience is. So there's like lots of different places in which to come and talk about Collabland, because we have like different personas that use Collabland, and so they have different experiences. So that's what's happened. Some of a taste of what's happened already this year. But where are we moving to? I mean, I guess I could say where we're expanding into, but now having the benefit and joy of having 6 million connected wallets, and being able to have this community of communities, and all these members who have verified through Collabland, who trust Collabland, who have put their faith in us as a company. Like, how can we serve them moving forward? And what we've decided to expand our offerings into are verifiable credentials, which we call VCreds, which means Collabland is going to be able to attest to who you are and what you've done in your Collabland community. So I'm going to be able to give Marina an admin badge, an admin VCred that says you were an admin in the NFT Go community. And I don't know if you are or not, just using it as an example. And you had this role and this role and this role. And now I've given you that verifiable credential. It is like an off-chain NFT that uses cryptography and can show that Collabland is the one that attested to this. And I am the issuer of this off-chain NFT for you. And so now you are going to be able to share that. And where we're moving into is the opportunity to give each member that belongs to a Collabland community a little bit of history that they can take with them as they build their crypto resume.
So yeah, wall delegation is such a cool feature, and I'm so glad to see that being integrated. And just hearing you talk about the read only stuff is something that I wish I could just have on a soundbite, or have you come into every single community that I've ever talked to and just tell them that over and over and over again, because it's something that people just are so scared of. And it's like, read only. Collabland is just verifying who you are, verifying your assets. You're signing a gasless transaction. You're not changing the state of the blockchain in any way. And it's like, I don't think people realize like how important, like what she just said in terms of like feeling confident in using applications such as Collabland, because what it does in the back end cannot harm you. And just to hear you say that is just like amazing, and it's like so great to hear, because it's like it's something that comes out of my mouth all the time, and it's like.
But I don't know. I mean, I don't know if it's I agree with you. Of course, it's important, but the issue isn't Collabland, it's everyone pretending to be Collabland. And so it's like, yes, I can keep saying it. Like I said, we have over 6 million wallets connected, and we've been doing this for 2.5 years, and scaling and growing at every stage and fortifying as we go. But yeah, I mean, I can say it a million times, but what we really need to do is help people identify what's real and what's fake. Because if they're interacting with the real Collabland and they see that it's read only, like, they're safe. But if they're interacting with a fake Collabland that it can also write the message that they're read only, like, it's not going to help them. So, I mean, I get it. Like, I hear what you're saying, which is important to remind people it's read only. But what's really the most important thing to remind people is to be able to tell something that's real to something that's fake, because that's the scam. And that's where people are losing millions and millions of dollars. People who can't afford to lose that money, that's where they're getting hurt.
Yeah, I think what that really like attests to is this idea of, I think the same people who are coming out and saying like, oh, I'm not going to use Collabland, even the real one, are the same people who are not using their ledger devices with MetaMask or Phantom or Collabland or anything, because in their eyes they're thinking, as long as I just don't ever use it, then I can never get scammed. Well,
that's true for everything. I mean, if you want to participate, and I 100% respect people who don't want to sign any message anywhere. I get it. Even though I am Collabland, and I work with the smartest people and the most caring, thoughtful team that exists in Web3. I get it and I respect that. But this, I mean, I don't know. I guess I don't really know how to explain it that much. But what we really need to do is protect the people that do want to participate, not necessarily the people that don't. Because the people that don't want to use a ledger, the people that don't want to use Collabland, like, I'm not worried about them. The people I'm worried about are the people that want to be a part of it, but aren't able to do it safely and don't have the tools to do it safely. If you don't want to use Collabland, don't. Like, live your life. I want the best for you. But if you want to and you've only heard the name or you don't know what you're signing, I care about you.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's, I mean, I think at the end of the day, what is super important is just giving and having the knowledge out there, to be able to give people the confidence to use these things, because at the end of the day, they are designed to help you and they're designed to keep you safe. And avoiding them isn't necessarily the correct practice. Even if you want to, and that's totally fine, and absolutely, like, if whatever way you feel like is going to keep you the safest, go for it. But the understanding, what's always important is just understanding how it works on the back end and understanding what does certain transactions mean, what does certain signatures mean, and having that knowledge allows you to make better decisions, and hopefully those better decisions lead you to feeling comfortable using ledger devices and feeling comfortable connecting to Collabland and being able to identify the fakes and the scams out there as well.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, not a lot of people have actually this background of actually checking. People are onboarding from different parts of world, different cultures, and we don't have the same skill set, I'd say. So I think that it's really important that we as a creators in the space are actually the ones who are giving them this knowledge, and that's why we are here actually today to talk about that. So I have maybe let's say a final question for you guys, because you both share one thing, and that's you are both included in daily customer support services. So what would you say that are most common problems, let's say in previous months, scams actually, that you guys are getting reported, and what should we pay more attention to?
I can start. Scams haven't been really coming up as much through support anymore. So I don't know if people have kind of moved off of Discord, or I don't know what, but the scam websites are crazy. So I will say, like, the company that we work with for monitoring the web, and also our two dedicated safety officers at the company, like, that's something that comes up all the time. And a lot of these fake imposter sites are like lying in wait. Like, they're not necessarily anything dangerous looking now, but they've kept a URL that's a little bit fishy. And so now you're like having to monitor them to see when they're going to strike and when they're going to activate. I don't really know how much it costs to pull up a new or make a new website, but we're seeing that a lot. Like, kind of 100 of the same website will come up that just has a little bit of a tweak in the name. And you're like, or they just use all consecutive numbers or something. And so that's kind of been coming up. Whenever you're connecting with Collabland, make sure that the URL is collab.land. Nothing before that. It's just collab.land. And so it's going to be some version of collab.land, like we have connect.collab.land, for example. So it's going to have to be collab.land. If it's anything different, then just watch out for the websites. I would say that's something that's been coming up. Yeah.
Yeah, I at least personally have been seeing a lot of fake Ledger Live websites. It's important to know, obviously, that Ledger Live is an application and that Ledger Live is not a website. So we'll see a lot of fake websites that are just like, one of my favorite is the footsybar.com/Ledger Live. Obviously, that's not Ledger Live. Also, like, we've seen fake Telegram groups, fake apps on app stores. Basically, the whole idea is just putting the user in a situation where they are prompted to input their recovery phrase. is typically the common scam that we've seen, especially as of late, and that just really goes right back to the thing that I've been really just preaching, and that Ledger preaches, that you will never input that recovery phrase into anything other than the device. And if Ledger Live ever asks for your recovery phrase, then you know it's a scam, and you should immediately back away from that site or the application, because Ledger Live will never ask for it. And the minute that you put it in, you're essentially just wrecked and it's over.
So we are basically going back to the basics of reading, like read, whatever you click on, just read before doing anything. And that's the most important thing, I think, in this space, like not FOMOing and read the messages that are being served to you, because if you don't read, then you get wrecked. And when we're talking about getting wrecked, I just like to mention sites like Revoke, sites like app.rect, even Etherscan has this token approval checker as well. So in terms of like helping us when we're revoking the messages, what is actually the impact of revoking the message? Maybe Peachy, you can give us more insights on that one.
Yeah, when you're using Revoke Cache, all you're doing is so typically when you use Revoke Cache, you are using it to revoke approvals that you have set. If you were to go to Revoke Cache right now, you would probably see a lot of approvals on OpenSea, because anytime that you want to list an NFT, you have to sign a set approval for all. And when you go through the process of let's say you run into a scam site and you sign a set approval for all and you lose some NFTs, or you lose NFTs in one collection because you only signed it once. If you were to go to Revoke Cache, or if you were to go to Etherscan first, you would see that you signed a transaction called set approval for all, where you'll see that you essentially you gave an address the ability to manage those assets within that collection in your address. And when you use Revoke Cache, what you're doing is you're actually just signing another set approval for all. That's how it'll appear in Etherscan. But instead of turning that false to a true, when you're getting scammed, you're just turning that true back to a false, which just means that address no longer has access to your assets or to that specific collection. And so that's really all that Revoke Cache is doing, is kind of just getting rid of that approval, which is something that you can do within the NFT's contract itself as well.
So if we're actually fast enough, then we can prevent some damage, right? Does that even make sense?
Yeah. Sorry, I clicked the voice transformer. Yes. If there, it depends. It really just depends on how sophisticated the scam is. If you're coming into a website that does set approval for all, and it's all automated by bots, typically Flash bots, then you're really just not going to be fast enough. But I did have a conversation with somebody at VCon who was a Bored Ape holder, and he went to a malicious website and he signed a set approval for all on his Bored Apes. He felt weird about it. He told me he felt weird about it after he signed the transaction, and he actually went to Etherscan and noticed that he signed a set approval for all. And he's just like, he told me, I know I heard of that before, and he's like, I knew I needed to do something about it. So he went to Revoke Cache, found the address that he approved, and then immediately revoked it, and his apes were safe. He revoked the approval on the address, and so he avoided having any of his apes stolen. So that is a possibility. That is something that you can do if you sign a set approval for all. But it's tough because it's not something that like I can't promise that you'll be able to protect your assets, because ultimately it just comes down to how sophisticated is the scam setup on the scammer side, and how quick are you to notice and realize that you've signed a set of overall, are the kind of parameters to hopefully be able to prevent you from getting wrecked.
Nice. And when we're talking now, when we mentioned now Revoke Cache, and we know that there's this option in MetaMask as well where you can disconnect from the site, can you just explain the difference what does it mean that you're just disconnecting your wallet from the site from revoking the permission?
Yeah. So when you're connecting to a site, you're effectively just giving it the ability to, send you transactions as well as maybe even read your assets. I think that if that's pretty much to the extent of what it's going to do, disconnecting from sites is something that's always good to do after after you've done minting. It's always good just to have that kind of wallet hygiene, as I like to call it. But ultimately, like if you sign a set approval for all, going to MetaMask and doing the disconnect from the site, that's not gonna cancel the approval that you signed, because you're not actually signing anything. You're not actually changing the state of the blockchain by disconnecting from a site. So ultimately, it's like, it's good to disconnect from sites, but in a situation where you're getting scammed, ultimately disconnecting from a site's not gonna prevent you from getting scammed. If you've already signed transactions that have wrecked you.
Thanks for explaining this. I think it's really important for all users to understand that disconnecting is not, it's a healthy routine that you should be doing, but it's not something that's going to help you when you get wrecked. And yeah, when we
Mari, to add to that, I would say a healthy routine would be checking revoke.cash regularly.
Yeah.
Because I do that regularly, even if I haven't been signing messages, like, a week will go by and use whatever you want in terms of your intervals. But a week will go by and I'm like, okay, let me go and make sure everything's okay. So just doing a little health check every once in a while at revoke.cash is probably a good idea.
It's the best idea, and it's the most healthiest thing that you can actually do to yourself, because then you'll sleep better. I think when I bought my second ledger, I started sleeping like a baby. I'll be completely honest, because what I've been through with scams and this first impact that I've got from Web3 was not nice experience. But I haven't blamed myself. I've just sat, and start learning and reading more, and this actually inspired me into becoming one of the Web3 security preachers in different communities in Discord. So it's really important at the end of the day that you just educate yourself, and that you just know what are you doing in Web3, because it's, like you said, it's fresh industry, new. We are facing a lot of smart scammers, a lot of smart hackers. So we need to find a way how to outplay them. And what I wanted to say previously is, now that we're talking about getting wrecked and losing your assets, I think that most important topic in Web3 space should be mental health and how to deal with yourself and when you lose your assets. And I guess that you guys are also facing this. So how do you feel being a mediator to these guys, to these people who lost everything or some pieces of their portfolio? How do you guys help them?
Yeah, that's probably the hardest part, is when, and I'm grateful, knock on wood, that it hasn't happened recently. I can't remember in the last few months. I don't think I've heard about that happening in our support tickets, but there was a time where we would hear in our support tickets that, can you help me get my money back? And that question is just, it guts you, because I can't help with that. All I can do is, we report. We have a relationship with the FBI as well. When people lose money, then we do report to them, and so I can take down the information as best I can. I can make the report. I can see if we can try to get the site taken down. Report to Discord for whoever it is that. Did this, whoever the imposter was, all of that I can do, but I cannot give them their money back, and that's just heartbreaking. Thankfully, like I said, I haven't gotten a message like that in months, and so I haven't had to feel that. I feel it again right now from months ago. But how do you deal with that? How do you deal with the stress? How do you deal with the 24-hour news cycle we have in crypto? I mean, the ways we manage it, like I said, my husband and I are both doing this together. We have 2 teenagers who are very not interested in us being a part of their lives right now. And so we have a lot of time for each other and the business, which means we have a lot of time for the business. And so the way we manage is we meditate together, we exercise together, we take time off. During the week, we don't go on vacations, but we'll take an evening off and say, okay, that's it. It's 7 o'clock. I'm not going to think about work now. So we do take time off, a few hours at a time, and try to put this out of our mind, because this is everything, but it's also not everything. And we're both older, and we've been together for a long time. And so we recognize there was a life before this, and there will be a life after this. And what makes this special right now, and to be able to keep your self okay and aware, is having perspective. And the only way to get perspective is to take time away from the space. And so if that means meditation for 30 minutes every day, or if that means a week off to visit your family, I mean, whatever you can do, being able to take a moment for yourself where you can remember the world is bigger, life is bigger, then you're going to be able to come at this space a little bit more grounded, and that's going to help you make these decisions that are needed in this space, where one wrong move, or getting into a scam mint site, even for maybe your favorite project, can have you lose everything. And so having a little bit of perspective, I think, is the best thing I can say and recommend.
Yeah, working in support is so I run into these a lot. I've talked to a lot of people who've lost substantial or even just a little bit amount of money. Ultimately, from my perspective, what's really important is that the person or the customer, whoever you're talking to, understands the scope of the situation. Giving them direct answers. I personally, I really make an effort to just be very direct, in the sense that I don't want to give people, false hope. I don't want to give people this idea that, like, oh, there's a chance you can get your stuff back, or there's a chance that, you didn't lose your assets, because I think that ultimately can hurt more than it can help. At the end of the day, it's just one of those things where it's tough. It's really hard. I think doing, AMAs like this and talks like this, I think really a big reason that I wanted to get into like community outreach and education was a result of having those tough conversations. Because at least to me, what feels like is the best way to help combat that from happening is by having these talks and being able to answer questions, to make people feel more safe, and to increase the overall, sense of security in the space, and be able to advise and assist people in making correct decisions. And I think that is, at least to me, the best thing that I can do to help people is more of just work on what can I do to help the next person, rather than be able to worry too much about the person that that's gotten scammed in the past. I think it's something that just being able to move on. It's tough. It's hard. I can't. It's one of the things, trying to show empathy, and when talking to these people, it's really tough, because it's not me that's getting hurt, and I don't know what it's a lot of time. It's like, what do you say to someone that's lost their life savings? There's not a lot of answers to that. Nothing that I can provide that really would give a lot of comfort, other than just like, the best thing to do is to just give them the clear answer, and explain, what happened. These are your only options, whatever they may be. And, just getting ready to address that issue, and just be able to, because again, the last thing I want to do is give someone false hope that they might be able to get something back, when that is just not going to be an option.
Thanks for sharing this, guys. I think now we can open up questions. Maybe someone from audience would like to ask something. Let's see. If you guys have any questions for Anjali or for Peachy now, it's perfect time for you to jump on the stage with us. Okay, Jared is part of our team. I'm gonna add him as speaker. Hey, Jared. Hey, Jared, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. I've really enjoyed the space. You guys are really intelligent and interesting. It's been very informative. I was just wondering what you guys have planned for the future, and like what kind of problems you expect to happen in the future, and solutions to like basically make people feel more secure in this space, because there are so many scammers out there.
Yeah, I guess I can start with this. I think the first thing that we're really working and focusing on does come from our education side. We have Ledger Academy, which is a fantastic collection of ever growing articles on Web3 and crypto, and there's just tons of topics that we talk about and dive into over there and give great tutorials and conversations. I think as we grow and as I grow personally, I think Ledger Quest is going to be a great way for communities to get involved in education and security, and ultimately feel like they're being rewarded for learning about security and education. And in turn, obviously, as they're learning about it, then they're going to become less susceptible to falling for scams and phishing attempts and such. And I hope that as time goes on, these best practices and conversations just become second nature to people, and we can avoid these scams and these problems altogether.
That's awesome. And thank you for this question. This is a great question because, when I talked a little bit about earlier about reputation and identity, and Collabland expanding into this space to serve its members by offering verifiable credentials, this is also one of the reasons we're interested in verifiable credential space. Because when you think about the biggest issue that comes up, and I feel like at this point I'm pounding it into everybody's head, so don't hate me, is imposters. And so one way we are hoping to help create a safer world is by providing these verifiable credentials. And so now if you meet somebody online who claims to be me, you can say, hey, what are your verifiable credentials? What are your VCreds? Can you show me what you've done? Can you show me what projects you've been a part of? Can you show me which Discords you're in? Can you show me whatever position I've had and what roles I've had? And if that person isn't going to be able to give you that historical snapshot of what they've done and what they've been in the space, then you'll know it's not them. And so in one way, of course, fortifying and beefing up our project, that's just something that is in our blood. It's the air we breathe. That's not something that is a goal for us. It's something that we're constantly working towards. So it's just who we are. But as far as like expanding ways into solving these future problems, future scam imposter problems, that's the way we're approaching it, is starting to have that movement toward a reputation in crypto. It's not just about how much money you have, but it's what you've done and where you've been. And when you can start sharing that and showing that, then everyone's going to be able to verify who the other people are. It's like shining that light in the dark forest, having that flashlight with you, where you're going to be able to kind of confirm who somebody is, because a verifiable credential, just like crypto itself, is encrypted, and you'll be able to see who it came from and who it was given to, and so it cannot be impersonated.
Awesome, cool. I'm loving what you guys are doing. Thank you so much for this space. It was super fascinating.
Thank you. That was a great question. Thank you.
Let's see, maybe someone else would like to hop on a stage with us and ask a question. Now it's a perfect moment for you to raise your hand. Okay. Looks like they're out of the questions, or maybe we just managed to answer all of their questions tonight. Guys, I'm really grateful that you joined us tonight. I've been really enjoying, and for me, this is really nice experience as someone who really loves security and really wanna onboard a lot of people in this space. This was super knowledgeable. And thank you for explaining on how do you guys work and how everything works from a Ledger side and from a Collabland. It was really, really exciting listening to you guys. What I would like to say to all of you guys who are listening and who will be listening to this space is that NFT world can be super exciting, and please always take your time when you're making an investment. So if you're lazy, it can cost you a lot of more. And those extra few minutes that you will take to check everything and check the message that you're actually signing will help you a lot. And it won't put you in a position where you will feel uncomfortable, where you will doubt your knowledge, or where you will have a fear of losing your assets. And most importantly is that you don't forget to take care of yourself and to leave the FOMO on the side. That's like one of the bad things in the Web3 space, because everyone are always like, just FOMO in, bro, FOMO in. Leave that on the side. Sleep regularly, eat regularly. Don't forget to drink your water, because at the end of the day, you're just a human. And if you lose yourself in Web3 space, then no money can help you get, what you're searching for. So self-care is super important. Don't neglect it, because self-care are actually the basics of your security in Web3 space. So guys, I would give you some time. If you have some note that you would like to share with our community, that would be super, super cool.
Thank you so much, Marina. I just want to add on a little bit to what you said at the end there about mental health. Mental health is incredibly important, just as valuable as your physical health. So everyone needs to prioritize that. Like she said, your physical health or your mental health, emotional health, and being in this space, if you're not thinking clearly, aren't well rested, aren't emotionally feeling grounded, can be really difficult. One of the things I'm going to share that we do at Abridged, and I'm putting this out there to invite other Web3 companies to join me, is we provide BetterHelp and I'm not a sponsor, I get no money from this, but we provide BetterHelp, which is a online therapy service for all of our employees and contractors. And so I would encourage everybody to look into that. If you're an HR individual or listening, or a founder listening, maybe think about that. It's been able to provide mental health services for our employees who don't have access to that, maybe in the country that they live in or the town that they live in. And it's something that's been closed off to them up until this point. And so we provide that, as well as we provide a stipend for gym membership. Of course, everyone should be doing that. But I really wanted to focus in on offering some kind of online therapy for your employees or your contractors, because your team is really, you're as strong as your team. And so I want everyone to take this as a challenge and think about offering that for your teams as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think those are perfect closing words. Mental health is extremely important, and your just the overall health. As you're exploring this space and as you're working hard, a lot of us, working long hours, and a lot of us are grinding. That grind mindset is something that it exists within the space, and just taking the time for that self-care is extremely important. I just want to say thank you for having me come up. I'm excited that I was able to talk to everyone here. It's a great experience, and I'm glad that more communities are getting involved in security, and conversations like this are continuing to be had, because as we grow in the space, they're becoming more and more important. And it's great to see everyone so excited about this topic and being able to be so interested, because I think as more people start coming into these, into Web3, it's going to really fall onto the shoulders of those who are already here to be able to, answer the call and really provide that sort of help to guide people into the space, when a lot of us didn't really have that to begin with.
Thank you, guys. I cannot even explain you how am I feeling now, and I'm really grateful that you had a chance to join us in. So with that being said, it's already been an hour and a half since we're in this space, and it's time to finish it now. We will have some more spaces during this week, so stay tuned. We will host some interesting communities. Our Spanish community will also host some spaces, so we're hoping to see you there as well. Once more, thank you guys for joining in. This was super, super, super resourceful and knowledgeable, and I cannot find the words on how to say thank to you. So talk to you soon. Hope you had fun as we have, and yeah, talk to you soon, guys.
Thank you
Bye-bye.
so much, Marina, for having me. I'm just sad this is over because I'm not going to get to talk to you again. So
No,
hopefully we'll be able to meet again somewhere else.
you know, you're waiting the document from me, so don't worry. We're definitely in touch. Yeah.
Okay, Marina.
definitely.
I'm going to
Okay.
count on that. All right. And thank you. Good to meet you, Just Peachy.
Great to meet you as well. Definitely hit you up because I would love to continue to talk. It's great to be able to talk with you. It's been fantastic.
Awesome, for sure. Let's do it. All right.
Thanks, guys.
Have a good night, everyone.
Have a good night. Bye bye.